8,000 years ago, in the humid heart of the Americas, a pact was struck that would feed empires. It was a partnership of three: the towering maize, the broad-leafed squash, and a humble vine with a hidden power. The ancients could not see the microscopic guests within, but they saw the miracle they performed. While other crops exhausted the land, the bean plant did the impossible. It reached into the very air and pulled down the breath of life. The domestication of beans was a gradual process that took place thousands of years ago as early farmers in the Americas learned to cultivate wild plants for food. Beans eventually became one of the most important crops in the Western Hemisphere and a cornerstone of traditional agriculture. Archaeological and genetic evidence shows that common beans were domesticated independently in two main regions of the Americas. The species known today as Phaseolus vulgaris likely originated from wild bean plants that grew across Mesoamerica and the Andes Mountains. In Mesoamerica, present-day Mexico and Central America, domestication began roughly 7,000 to 8,000 years ago. In the Andean region, modern Peru and Bolivia, a separate domestication occurred around 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. In both areas, early farmers gathered wild beans and began planting the seeds from the plants that produced the best harvests. Beans became especially important when grown alongside maize and squash in the famous Three Sisters agricultural system. Farmers planted beans next to corn, which provided a natural pole for the climbing bean vines. Beans, in turn, added nitrogen to the soil, helping the corn grow better. Squash spread along the ground, suppressing weeds and conserving moisture. This cooperative planting system developed in Mesoamerica and later spread throughout North and South America. Bean plants act as a natural fertilizer because they improve soil fertility through a biological partnership with bacteria. This process is called nitrogen fixation. Plants need nitrogen to grow. It is essential for making proteins, enzymes, and chlorophyll. Although nitrogen gas makes up most of the air, plants cannot use it directly. Without available nitrogen in the soil, crops grow slowly and produce smaller yields. Bean plants, including the common bean Phaseolus vulgaris, form a remarkable symbiotic relationship with soil bacteria called Rhizobium. Here is how the process works. Roots release chemical signals into the soil. Rhizobium bacteria respond and infect the root hairs. The plant forms small structures on the roots called nodules. Inside these nodules, bacteria convert nitrogen gas from the air into ammonia, a form plants can use. This biological process is called nitrogen fixation. Once nitrogen is fixed, some nitrogen is used by the bean plant itself. Some leaks into the surrounding soil. When the plant dies or its roots decompose, the stored nitrogen is released. This enriches the soil, making nutrients available for other plants. Wild bean plants were quite different from the beans we eat today. They had several traits that made them difficult to harvest. Small seeds, pods that split open easily, scattering seeds on the ground, vining growth that tangled through surrounding plants. Over generations, farmers unknowingly reshaped these plants through selective planting. Each year they saved seeds from plants with desirable traits such as larger seeds, pods that stayed closed until harvested, more productive plants, beans that tasted better and cooked more easily. Gradually, these selections produced domesticated beans with larger seeds, sturdier pods, and higher yields. Beans became a dietary staple for many indigenous societies because they are rich in protein, fiber, and essential nutrients. When eaten with maize, beans provide a balanced source of amino acids, making the combination nutritionally powerful. Over thousands of years, farmers created hundreds of varieties of beans, from black beans and kidney beans to pintos and navy beans, all descendants of those early domesticated plants. Today, the descendants of those ancient crops remain central to cuisines around the world. What began as a careful partnership between early farmers and wild plants eventually produced one of humanity's most important food crops,